happy, I say. But anyway, okay, Mr. Gleason. Thank you. So it's Gleason. Yeah, y'all live in Tampa here?
Mm-hmm. No, I live in Palm Beach.
You drove up here today for this?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is 5 years of my life.
This is dedication, guys. We're doing the stuff that that other people should have been doing, and they had a duty to do, but yet they chose to either be deliberately indifferent or willfully blind or participants in the scheme.
No, I completely understand.
That issue becomes basically if you try to do it through the civil courts, you're stymied at every move, and you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Millions.
Yeah.
Millions.
That makes sense. It seems to be whenever those civil lawsuits go through, it ends up just being a money hole, and people just have kind of.
How do you say your last name?
Buongiorno, like good morning in Italian.
Buongiorno. Thank you.
Sadly enough, as you guys know, as law enforcement, obviously we don't have a whole lot to do with the civil side of things. But no, but I sympathize. I know it can be an expensive endeavor. So.
And as former law enforcement,
Yeah,
we understand how cops like donuts. So we brought some really good donuts.
I appreciate it. Where'd you guys work?
What's that?
Where'd you guys work?
Yarmouth,
Yarmouth.
Massachusetts.
Okay.
Passaic County Sheriff.
Okay.
Or Patterson, New Jersey, most famous.
Okay.
How do you say your last name? Siamas.
You're from
Yeah.
Northeast originally?
Massachusetts, right? Yeah.
Charles Kelly.
That seems like there's a one-way train from Massachusetts back down here with all the Massachusetts people down here.
Well, you know,
Thank you, sir.
we're political refugees.
Well, that's why I'm so pissed. I know organized crime. I grew up in New Jersey in the 70s and 80s, right?
yeah.
And I stepped right into it. I'm like, I thought I was leaving it. It's worse here. Because, I mean,
Especially in South Florida. I know in South Florida that there's links to South
well,
Florida.
I mean, the corruption is it's there. I mean, they're covering for Epstein. I don't know what they're doing, but it's terrible. It's not voter fraud. It's a scheme.
All right. Any questions before we get started?
No.
Okay. Okay, today's date is the 3rd of April, I'm sorry, 3rd of March.
That's April.
April, God, I'm tired. 3rd of April, 2026. The time now is 9:25 a.m. I'm Inspector Jim Franquez. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Office of Executive Investigations. Also present is Inspector Jackson Altaid. The location of this interview is at the FDLE building here in Tampa. I will be questioning Mr. Gleason, Christopher Gleason, in a FDLE capacity. The case number was created as EI 320359. Prior to beginning this interview, Mr. Gleason should be aware of the following. This interview is being recorded. As a sworn law enforcement officer, I'm empowered to administer oaths and take statements. In a moment, I will be taking a statement from you. You will be under oath. If you knowingly provide false information, you can be criminally charged with perjury. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Gleason, you brought a couple of guests with you here today, so I'm going to go ahead and announce who all's in the room. Besides yourself, you have Jeffrey Buongiorno. That's spelled Bungiorno. His date of birth is 8/6/66. Mr. John Samias. Last name is spelled Siamas. Date of birth is 5/30/80. And Mr. Charles Kelly, who's an attorney. His date of birth is 10/13/69. And sir, do you represent Mr. Gleason?
Not currently.
Not currently. Okay. You're basically a safety net, I think you said. Okay. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to talk about the issues that you brought up. You made a complaint with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. I believe you said that you made these complaints via email to Commissioner Glass. So we're going to get a statement from you. Please raise your right hand, sir. Let the record reflect that the witness, Mr. Gleason, is raising his right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the information you're about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I
You
do.
can put your hand down, please. And I already said your full name is Christopher Gleason. Your date of birth is 1/16/72. Is that correct?
Yes.
Where do you currently work, sir?
I'm a consultant. I'm self-employed. I do election integrity consulting for various political campaigns. Currently, a declared candidate for United States Senate.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that consulting work?
Probably since about 2020.
Okay. All right, so I believe you agreed to meet us here today, correct?
Yes.
And you had two, from what we discussed before we went on record here, you have two issues that you spoke to on the phone with with Inspector Afaid. The two issues. Let's go ahead and talk about the first issue first, which is the election. You say there's fraud in the mail-in ballot type of things when it comes to elections.
Let me break in real quick, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what Mr. Gleason is bringing to you is what he has discovered via researching through public records.
Okay.
Okay, so his testimony is not meant to be direct testimony as him being a witness, but what he's bringing you is information that should spark a criminal investigation.
Okay.
So regarding the perjury and that sort of stuff,
Okay.
basically he's not testifying to the facts, he's testifying to the documents and providing those to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right. So tell us what you know about the voter fraud stuff.
So on Sunday, June 23rd, 2024, mysteriously, 219,600 and I believe 75, might be up by one or two, vote by mail ballots were allegedly requested by voters in Pinellas County on a Sunday. Of the 275,000 vote by mail ballot requests,
275?
275,000?
200.
Or no, I'm sorry, 219,675. Yeah, roughly, yeah. Of those, approximately 1,500 were protected voters. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this or not, but protected voters are unable to request vote by mail ballots online on any day as a fraud and or security prevention mechanism coded into the system. So that would mean in order to request those vote by mail ballots, those protected voters, there would have had to have been an override, an internal fraud mechanism override. And so what the implication of that is rather serious, because that involves all of the law enforcement who are protected voters. That would also include judges who were protected voters, federal agents who were protected voters. I happen to know that quite a few judges who were connected to my election challenge case over these fraudulent vote by mail ballots themselves and their first relations and their spouses were also implicated in having their vote by mail ballots requested on that day. So, and yet those judges refused to disqualify themselves, which is, kind of a problem. Now, the other thing about these vote by mail ballots that were allegedly requested on Sunday, June 23rd, was that we had requested the IP logs of those vote by mail ballots being requested, because I'm an IT guy, we build software, there's a log of everything. And the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections and their attorney and the county attorneys all claimed that it was going to take 19,000 hours to generate that report, which we know from VR Systems' own manual, it took a couple of mouse clicks. Now,
Why is 19,000 hours important?
well, 19,000 hours would essentially be several years worth of work to generate a report and money. It creates a artificial and unreasonable demand for money for public records, which is obviously a violation of Florida statutes regarding official misconduct. So that's 838.022. And they did this in order to convey a benefit to Julie Marcus and harm me in my campaign. As you may or may not be aware of, Florida election law regarding vote by mail ballots is strict compliance. So essentially, the 219,675 vote by mail ballots that were allegedly requested, we know that the voters didn't actually request them on that date. We know that many of the voters, and we had sworn statements from voters saying that they never requested them. Those sworn affidavits were presented in court, and the judge, one of the judges, or actually all of the judges that were connected to that case, ended up sealing the case and all of the exhibits to include those affidavits. So we have numerous Pinellas County voters who also knew that there was significant issues. They had also requested a grand jury investigation into Pinellas County's election fraud. There was about over 200 sworn requests for grand jury investigations that were submitted to Chief Judge Sean Crane over in Pinellas County Circuit. What's the circuit number? Pinellas County.
No, it's the sixth.
Yeah.
Sixth, yeah.
So, and then on election day, as I saw more fraud going on, I went to the courthouse. I filed for an emergency injunction to stop the election fraud. Filed the paperwork. I was told that the case was assigned and that somebody would be in touch. I did that. That was obviously civilly. So then I went to the Criminal Justice Center over on 49th Street, and I filled out a handwritten request for a grand jury investigation, submitting it to Chief Judge Sean Crane. That was blocked, and the law is very clear. The law says shall investigate. So when a candidate or qualified electors requests a grand jury investigation, if judges and or the state attorney and or other parties block that, that would be a significant issue. That would be obstruction.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So the numbers that you get, the 219,000, I believe you said, how do you get your calculations? Where are you getting this data from?
Directly from the state of Florida.
Okay.
So as a candidate, I'm able to get the daily vote by mail reports, which I downloaded, and we look at the state's own data. And the state's own data tells us that on that particular day, June 23rd, that those people requested the vote by mail ballots. Then it also, are you familiar with those reports at all?
No,
Okay.
but
It tells you the date that they were requested. It tells you the date that they were sent out.
Okay.
Tells you the date they were received. Tells you the date that they were returned, and the date that they were cast. I believe.
10162 has the details of what's required to be entered in that report.
No one knows.
Statute.
We're getting there. So then you have this other category of information, and it is whether or not an ID was used to request the vote by mail ballot. And on every single one of those reports, they showed that no identity was verified in Pinellas County. No last social, no last driver's license number. That's a problem. That's a huge problem.
Column AK and column AL.
Now, we also saw this same anomaly in Miami-Dade. Now, as litigation proceeded, Julie Marcus' attorneys, Matt Smith, the general counsel for the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections Office, and the county attorneys, they they refused to say that there was anything wrong. They refused to hand over any information regarding those logs. And in a subsequent case, John Liccione filed in his, I think it was the March special election for Gulfport mayor. He filed a request for a grand jury investigation. He requested information related to his own vote by mail ballot. And as he pressed the issue, Bruce Bartlett allegedly investigated himself in his own department. He investigated allegedly the supervisor of elections supervisor of election claimed that it was a glitch in the software. So we went from refusing to provide public records related to that, saying it was going to take 19,000 hours, to now it's a software glitch. Well, Bruce Bartlett, his office said that it was a procedural error. So Bruce Bartlett is saying it's a procedural error. Supervisor of elections saying it's a software glitch. All of this information had gone to Bruce Bartlett. It had gone to the chief judge in 2024. So now we have this pattern. Okay, we have a pattern here. The other thing is that Bruce Bartlett and most of the attorneys in his office, they were on that list of fraudulently requested vote by mail ballots on Sunday, June 23rd. So you guys investigating public corruption, you guys are typically called in, I believe, right? When there's a problem with law enforcement, correct?
It depends on the situation, but we do get calls like that.
It depends on public official. We have an integrity unit, which is not us. If it's, if it's within an agency, it's usually internal affairs by that agency. But if it's a public official, that's throughout the state, then it's
Would you view the FDLE and the Attorney General of Florida as a last resort after having exhausted all your other avenues of approaching this?
I would say so. I have rather unsuccessfully been bringing things to Mark Glass for several years. He's been copied on most everything that I've been doing. Same thing with Byrd. Same thing with the Office of the Inspector General for the state of Florida. More recently, I have begun copying things to Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division. Before Dan Bongino departed, he was also being copied in on this. Cash Patel was being copied in on this. Ashley Moody's office, when she was in, was being copied in on all of everything that I've been doing. It's all government data, okay? It's all government records. Everything that I do, it's simply taking the government's own self-certifying, self-authenticating data that show clearly that there is public corruption going on, that there is official misconduct going on, that there is breach of public trust going on.
besides getting IDs and socials, and you're saying that you get this data, it was available to you. Explain a little bit more about the fraud. Besides not getting people's identification.
Okay, so
Explain how do you know like the individuals or committing fraud when they were mailing in these ballots? I mean.
Okay, so here's one of the neat things that we've done.
The documents I have is pretty much, there's no record in the county, but there is in the state.
Yeah.
There you go.
So we know that there are individuals within the Supervisors of Elections office in a lot of the counties who are altering election records, okay? So every one of those 219,675 ballots that were allegedly requested on Sunday, each one of those that was not actually requested by a voter, that is an individual felony count, okay? And now on top of that, and let's just say it was a glitch. Let's say it was a procedural error. Let's say it was a you know, it was some type of a glitch, because we know that Byrd likes glitches. And so the problem with that becomes now that when those vote by mail ballots were sent out, they were, a lot of those addresses that they were sent out to were not good addresses. And so what ends up happening is it creates this massive pool of vote by mail ballots that can be used to be fraudulently cast in the election. And if you send out all of these vote by mail ballots to bad addresses, okay?
Now, how do you know they're bad?
Well, we checked against the government's own data. We checked it against NCOA, USPS deliverability, and I've been kind of at this for a while. So of the 219,000, there was about 37,000 that went to undeliverable as addressed addresses, okay? Those were where people, they're not there. And of those 37,000 that got sent out, 20 something thousand ended up coming back as cast. So how does that happen? So, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of ballots. I mean, that's certainly enough to swing an election, any election in a county. And so we know, because we've been tracking this for quite some time. As a matter of fact, I actually brought a huge issue with this to Byrd back in 2022. I had a meeting with them. I had several meetings with them, one by phone, one face to face. And I had actually brought a lot of this information to Senator Rubio at the time. And Mike Needham, his campaign manager, because the fraud was going to affect him on a statewide level in his race. So the problem was never really addressed. So when I brought the issue of poor list maintenance by the supervisors of elections, in my meeting with the chief election officer for the state of Florida, he admitted to me that essentially he admitted that not all supervisor of elections were good at list maintenance. So he admitted that they were being neglectful in their duties, and that they were and it had created a massive opportunity for fraud. And that's a huge problem. But so let's now go back to the fraud scheme, okay, and the vote by mail ballots. So even if it was all a glitch, even if Russia or China hacked everything, okay, even if every single day that report that I got, it was generated by the supervisor of elections. They have to submit it to the Department of State. Department of State then publishes it to candidates and parties. Well, if those voters didn't actually request the vote by mail ballots on that day, every single day, every single entry, all across the state, that's a false entry in official election records. Mm-hmm. Last time I checked, that's a big no-no. That's a felony. Mm-hmm. And if they do that every single day, for every single day during early voting, every single day for 15 days after the election, okay? And the way the Florida elections run, you're looking at about 140 days of, for Pinellas County, 140 days of 219,000 times. And, you're looking at quite a lot of counts, felony counts of altering election records. It's kind of a bit of an issue.
How do you know that the records are being altered, or do you know how they're being altered?
Well, somebody had to alter them. Somebody put a fake. So if somebody didn't actually request the vote by mail ballot, right? If they didn't actually do that on that date, is it fair to say that that's a false entry in an election record?
No, I understand what you're saying. My question is, assuming that the records are being altered, do you know who's doing it?
Well, actually, I know right where to look. Mm-hmm. They have these things. It's really cool about software, right?
I try to request that report. They denied me.
Of course, because that's the report, right?
Which report are we talking about?
Oh, the audit logs.
That's the whole.
So every access, because this is critical election infrastructure, right? There's a login and there's a password. And so you want to know who's the bad actor. All you got to do is look at the audit log, because when you log into a system, it's there with a timestamp.
Yeah, the consciousness of guilt.
So,
Right there.
so one of the things that they like to try to do is they like to try to falsely claim that this information is a trade secret. So the problem with that, though, right? A trade secret is something that a company derives a direct value from, right? So if a company is deriving a direct value from a compromised system or from a bug, because bugs aren't trade secrets, actually it's a liability, but they're falsely claiming that it's a trade secret in order to conceal the fraud, which is official misconduct, a violation of 838.022. We have a lot of 838.022.
The pattern procedure, right? And then it went to glitch, and now it's escalated until they said, well, now it's a trade secret, and that's an email.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
if you have fraud, does that override the trade secret?
Well, yeah. If you have fraud, you can't use a trade secret to conceal fraud. This is well-established case law, and so now, right? So here we have an unlawfully administered election, because if you break one law, okay,
What's a no-no ballot?
a no-no ballot would be one of those ballots that had no identity verification. And so here's the problem for Pinellas County. When you look at those vote-by-mail ballot reports, a lot of the other counties show the actual date that the person actually had requested the vote-by-mail ballot. So let's say it was like in 2022 or 2023, right? And it was a standing order at the time, right? Those were all contained in the vote-by-mail early voting reports. Now, here's the kicker, right? Maybe there was a bug at one point in time, maybe in 2022. We'll see. But what I do know is that the vast majority, it was about I think it was maybe 90% of all the ballots in the state of Florida in 2022 were no-nos. So that showed that there was no identity verification. And in fact, your mother and father,
That's where I know your name.
your mother
That's
and father,
right.
they had no-no ballots.
That's where I
And
know that name.
they had no-no ballots in 2022. So,
Didn't know that.
yeah.
You do now.
Anybody who had a vote-by-mail ballot in 2022 essentially had a no-no ballot.
When you say no-no, it's no valid ID, and what's the other no?
It's no social, no DL.
No social, no driver's license.
So 10162 lists the.
To keep everything in the
required
context,
ID.
you said you ran for supervisor of election in what year? Was that?
2024.
As did I.
And I was
Okay, and
state senate.
We're all
so
there.
are you saying this fraud, and I'm going to just concentrate on that election, okay, as opposed to like in general. In that election, the evidence or the proof that you say you developed was based on those reports, that data you got,
It's government's own data.
and what other evidence did you obtain? Like
Affidavits,
Well,
sworn affidavits.
You know what the old saying is what you know is what you can prove.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, everything that I can prove,
And the
it's the
affidavits
government's own data.
and the affidavits, sworn affidavits from who?
Voters who said that they did not request vote-by-mail ballots.
May I? Here's the gotcha. They will not produce the statutory reports that are required to certify the election. That's why they drag them out of the witness stand. They won't give us the audit logs, they won't give us the detail, and that's all the data behind the two elections that we ran in and he ran in. So all three of us are victims here, and the evidence is their silence and their concealment. And I also filed a writ of mandamus asking the Florida Supreme Court to force Wendy Link.
So what you're saying is the system is basically preventing you from, because it controls the information, from preventing you from getting the actual evidence.
The auditable record of the election, that the election was actually legally administered, and which, by the way, is a federal issue, because these were all federal elections, and that presents, so we know, based on the government's own data and based on records that we have obtained either through paid for an overcharged public records request.
That's a whole
Okay, so we know for a fact that the machines used to administer the election have modems in them, are connected to the internet using chipsets and components manufactured in communist China. Okay, we know that for a fact. As a matter of fact, I've done public records requests all across the United States related to the systems that are used to administer elections here in Florida. And not every state and not every municipality is fraudulently concealing the evidence that the election was legally administered and that the systems hadn't been compromised. So one of the things that we had uncovered in the 2022 election here in Tampa, in Hillsborough County, was that there were a massive number of ballots that were illegally adjudicated by the machine as being 100% blank, when they were not, in fact, 100% blank. And we saw, through public records requests, the government's own data, we went back to the very beginning of all this, back as far as that they had these reports. And what we saw was an ever-increasing number of 100% blank ballots being cast. So we have to ask the question, right? Who in their right mind is going to go through the whole rigmarole of going out on election day, showing up, having their ID checked, right? Waiting in line, getting a ballot, and not coloring in one single ballot position? Who would do that?
It's a fair question. With that being said, so you're saying that all these records are coming from public records, all government data. So that means that when you're saying that the addresses on these vote-by-mail ballots are bad, have you been able to verify that using any other methods outside of the government records?
We've had people Defend Florida. They did a lot of canvassing. But again, so the government's own data is self-certified.
No, of course, and I understand that. That's
So I have another way, okay? And so what's great, this is wonderful. I just found this out a couple months ago, right? We found out that the USPS has this thing. It's called a red binder, and in this red binder is a list of all of the election mail that was deemed undeliverable as addressed. Okay. And so if you guys go right up the street here to Central Processing Center, they would have those beautiful red binders. And as a criminal investigator, you guys could easily get that. And now there's another way, okay, that we did verify what was going on with some of these. So we saw the mailing address of vote-by-mail ballots. For my election in 2024, we sent out first-class postage with Android tags and Apple tags to follow and see where these things ended up. And some of them ended up being destroyed somewhere in the process. Some of them ended up in other states.
Fulton County.
So in 2025, in the Seminole mayor's race, there were some significant issues. And John and I had actually gone to the USPS criminal inspectors, and we had brought this to their attention. But as it would turn out, the criminal inspector that we spoke to used to work for Bruce Bartlett, and he didn't want to investigate Bruce Bartlett. And because he told us not to bring us any information unless it was people double voting, which is kind of problematic if you ask me.
You said these air tags, you said we. Who's we?
Myself, my campaign people. So I ended up sending out an air tag or an Android tag to a particular address that was it was a triple failure. Okay, so it was a DPV-N. It was 100% no way that this individual and his wife actually, they're not going to get mail at this address.
Right.
Okay, 100% no, according to the government's own data. And so I sent an affidavit to the voter to see, and his wife, to see if we could get them to identify what day they actually requested the vote by mail ballot, so on and so forth. And so I tracked the mail. I went to post office in Largo, dropped it off, and then I started doing daily snapshots. And then I went from Largo to Tampa, Central Processing Street. And then I went down to Sarasota. Then I went back to Tampa. And it sat in Tampa for a couple months. And then, if it was undeliverable as address, it should have come back to me.
Right.
But it didn't. It ended up, about a month ago, showing up at a postal facility in Fulton County, Georgia. And so, but now here's the problem with this, right? This address, these two individuals, husband and a wife, they show as having received, received, and cast vote by mail ballots.
Do you remember the address in Florida?
I love all the data.
We still have all the data here somewhere, but I can provide that for you.
And what's so apparently these trackers, what were they set up to your phone?
Yeah.
So you were the one that was getting the messages of where they were and so forth?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's real easy. Just give us the records. There's a rule, 2.053. It lists the records, precinct level, XYZ, audit log files. Just follow the law. Before you certify the 10 days, you're supposed to, everybody in the canvassing board has to read it, check it. It's like your bank statement, right? You can't do your bank reconciliation without your bank statement. So what they're saying is that the bank rec is complete, but we never looked at the bank statement. So they said those records don't exist. So either you withheld them from me, and that's a crime, or you certified the election without those records. Pick your poison. It's very simple.
I completely understand. When you send these out, I know that's based off of the no ballots, like at least generally speaking. Is that correct?
No, they're undeliverable.
Oh no, of course. I mean, when you're picking people to send it to, or the addresses, names, what have you. Based off of
so
the
what
don't
we
verify.
do is we look at who, because there's different categories of undeliverable, right? So you've got the ones that are like DPVNs. DPVN means no, it ain't ever gonna happen.
What does that stand for? Do you know?
There's no record of it at all. It's like they're never gonna get made up address. Okay.
How do they verify that, or how do you guys verify that?
United States Postal Service's own data. I mean,
And COA.
and COA,
That's their definitions.
USPS. I mean, it's all public record.
Sure.
You get purely look it up. So now, if we can do that, I guess what happens is either, there's no real chain of custody per se with these vote by mail ballots, which in and of itself is, deeply problematic for administering an election, right? Because with vote by mail, it's a privilege. It's not a right. And because it's a privilege, it's strictly construed. And so there was an election way back when Bush Gore, I believe, the Supreme Court found there was over 500 ballots. I mean, we're talking millions across the state of Florida.
But the trackers that you sent were only for the addresses that you knew.
Were no good.
No good.
Just give us the records. How you certify it. All this doesn't matter. Just give us those records. Give us the
we're
log
cast.
files. The rest is very simple.
They can't listen to multiple.
Yeah, but
I don't know, but it's getting convoluted.
so this is kind of
So essentially, you don't know any of these people. You were just trying to prove that these addresses didn't exist or they were no good.
or that these people, there's no way that they got them because of vote by mail ballot, right? They can't be forwarded.
Right.
You know why the vote by mail ballots it now says on all of the envelopes across the state? Do you know why it says do not forward now?
What's that?
It says that because of me. Because I brought that to the attention of Maria Matthews, some FBI folks, Byrd, and so in in SB 7050, they rewarded the lot to ensure that those were not being forwarded. So there was actually a story that the Epoch Times did about it, because I went to the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections office with envelopes, ballot envelopes, pictures of ballot envelopes that had been forwarded, and they refused to do anything about it. As a matter of fact, I sent that information to Sheriff Gualtieri over in Pinellas County. It also got sent to Court Byrd. It got sent to Brad McVeigh, and there's so I've been bringing stuff to the Secretary of State's office.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What's that?
So when you request to vote by mail ballots, I'm going to preface it with this. That's all done at the county level. You know that, right?
It should be, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, I don't know any other way. You go through your county and they're responsible, and then that request information per the statute is automatically uploaded to the state, who then compiles all the counties together and produces a report every day, 60 days prior to the election and 10 days after the election, right? What would you think if there was a state report which had individuals that made a request, no nos, voted, but the county has no record of that request?
I would like to know what happened.
Take a look at that paperwork right there, because that's your discrepancy. You want to know who? Find out who was the operator when that was made, and you're going to find out exactly who.
I understand.
So all of this, again, it's all documented. VR Systems has been making false claims of trade secrets. Once something's put on the internet, it's not a trade secret.
Is VR Systems the company that manages all the
Voter roll for the entire state of Florida, who, by the way, is also a public it's a public contractor who is also illegally withheld requests for public records, which is a deeply big problem. By the way, there are rules too. There are administrative rules to how all of this stuff works, especially with the electronic records. All the electronic records have to have checksums. Okay? They have to have digital hashes and checksums. Make sure that nobody's altered them. And magically, none of the supervisors of elections are handing over records with those digital checksums. So, like Craig Latimer over in Hillsborough County, they like to alter the election records that they provide and they charge us for. So that's uttering. That's a crime. So I pay something of value. He's paid things of value.
Oh, the number changes.
The number changes. It's arbitrary. It's
$50 an
capricious.
hour, next day it's $92
Realistically, this used to be the Sunshine State, and magically every time I catch bad actors doing stuff, they create a new exemption to throw in with the legislation, like SB 7050. The SB 7050, they tried to exempt certain data fields from giving me those records, because what we did was we took those county level, precinct level reports, and we ran it through some AI that we created, and we identified that there were identical percentages of vote by mail ballots being cast for matching precincts, okay, to the exact percentage, to the third and sometimes fourth decimal point. So you have different number of registered voters, you have different number of voter turnout, you have different numbers of blank ballots being cast, but you have matching precincts to the second and third, fourth decimal point, okay? And it's a recurring pattern, and it's recurring all over the state. And so do you know what the mathematical probability of that occurring is?
Pretty slim.
I think you'd be able to correctly guess the correct grain of sand on
9 Earths.
on 1,000 Earths. So, and you know the funny thing, because I get these records, these election records all over the country, we know what's really going on, because there are counties in Texas where they just hand them over to us right away. There are counties in North Carolina who just hand them over to us right away with the checksums, by the way. And so what's great is there were some crooked counties in Texas that tried to do the stuff that Julie Marcus and Craig Latimer and Wendy Link and other SOEs tried to do here in Florida. And Ken Paxton, who's a fantastic attorney general, great guy, by the way, he's like, no, you have to give this stuff to Chris Gleason. ES&S, they tried to say that it was a trade secret. They sent out a security bulletin to all their customers saying, if you give Chris Gleason these records, you're going to compromise the security of the election. Well, that's not true. They're instructing their customers to hide the fraud, because if we see, right, that the machines are not accurate because they don't meet the minimum requirements, maximum allowable error rate, all right? So in Florida's great, right? So based on the blank ballot stuff that we've uncovered, okay, Florida has not had a legally administered or certified election based on the blank ballot data since at least 2008. So, because see, Florida has this cool thing, right? Maximum allowable error rate, because we're the gold standard,
Right.
is 1 error in 1 million occurrences. So in Broward County, Florida, in the 2018 election, there were over 118,000 blank ballots cast. It was over 10% of all the ballots cast.
There was
in Broward.
68,000 in the last election.
68,000 in the last election. I mean,
I'm from Broward.
okay.
It's very,
So, not, again, let me try to bring it back in a little bit.
Yeah.
When you did your AirTag investigation,
Yeah.
did you have a report on those addresses? Do you have a list of
Yeah,
those
I
addresses?
do. Not with me, but I have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, because I'm curious. That was interesting. That was probably a unique concept of how to try to find out if these people were there or not.
just give us the reports.
And you said some were destroyed. How do you know that?
Well, they just mysteriously stopped reporting.
Okay. And like, what kind of report would they give you?
Well, it's a daily snapshot. It's a daily snapshot. So, like, what I would do is, on a daily basis, would
Right.
go. I would pull up where the tag is,
Right.
and then I would do a screenshot on my phone of where it was.
Okay.
And so I just kind of followed it, along. And what's great is, somebody might like to say, oh, well, the battery died. That's why it's not reporting anymore. Well, this one was sent out in November, and it's still reporting in Fulton County, Georgia. So I guess the question is, how the heck would mail that should have remained within the Florida mail system,
Makes sense.
how would it end up in Fulton County, Georgia?
How does that work with snowbirds? Like, what if I'm a snowbird, but I have a house here in Florida, and I want to do a vote by mail?
Well,
ballot?
you can't forward it, can you?
You have a mailing address and a regular address, so you would leave it. The system accounts for that. That's a very common thing. But guys, all you got to do is we need the records to
say one thing.
certify it.
You do know that I can't give you the records, right? That's not me.
I know, but we can get a.
No, I understand.
But that's
It's
it.
one of those where I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. I know that
There's just
you're getting excited, and I appreciate that. I do. But
He's passionate.
I'm not the one that can do it. So when you keep saying you give us the records, I can't do
them,
that.
but we're entitled to them. We did
and
the
that
public
I
records
understand.
request. That's the crime. You don't have to chase these things.
That's-
You're battery dead. You're
so-
convoluting the whole
No,
thing.
no, no,
We-
I understand.
They
I
didn't give us
understand
the
that.
records. That's a crime.
That's
Do something.
official
Come to
misconduct.
Jesus, guys. You're talking circles. A bunch of bullshit, man. You're talking in circles. We've been through this for 5 years. It's Good Friday. Come to Jesus, please.
He needs to.
I'll come chat with you afterwards. Can you find your way out?
Probably not.
He is.
You kind of surprised us when you brought guests with you. So.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Where you
I
originally from?
listen. I can understand everybody's.
it's real simple. Okay, you
You
guys are the public.
You've
you
been in
guys
law
are-
enforcement, right?
What's that?
You've been in law enforcement.
Yeah.
So you got to understand one thing, okay? I said before, we can have these. It's the system. It's the organization. This is what's been going on, but we have to target. If we're targeting an investigation, we have to get to the suspects specifically. Who are these people that are
The
doing it?
supervisors of elections.
Okay.
Okay.
So, that's what we have to narrow down, because if we're going to bring criminal charges on somebody, it has to be an individual.
Yeah,
it
I
can't
know.
be an entity.
No, I understand that.
So and that's
there-
why.
So some.
And I can see why he's getting upset, but the point of the matter is, we can't. You got to act like we don't know any of this, because we're just finding it out for the first time.
Well, see, the reports we're talking about, this is what they, and I'm gonna get it eventually. They actually list the operator who processed.
The request.
Okay.
That's your.
And
Did
that's
you
why I
ever
gave
file?
that.
Did you ever file a report with any law enforcement entity in the 2024 election when?
I
We
would
were
send.
uncovering all this
I sent emails. I copied people on all of this stuff. I mean, Mark Glass, the Roger, the FBI guy. We tried to. I mean,
FBI.
look.
But
I've exhausted. Put it this way.
But this is in Pinellas County, so did you report to anybody in Pinellas?
Everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere. I have
Did you
done.
get a case number or anything?
No.
Is there anybody I can talk to that?
I tell you what. You talk to Mark Glass.
Okay.
Okay. You tell Mark Glass to open up his email, and Mark.
He's my boss. I got to be more polite than that.
Okay.
Well, even Andrew Darlington, I had.
Andrew Darlington.
reported
He's another
against
one.
Andrew Darlington.
So I
I don't know who
mean,
that is.
he used to be the head of OECS.
Okay.
Okay. Mark Glass was copied on many
Right.
of the.
And the emails that you sent to Mark Glass, that's why we're here today.
Yeah, well, I think that more that the reason why we're here today is because I forwarded the federal OFAC report to all 60-something attorneys within the AG's office, and because I wanted to make sure that this was actually addressed as opposed to ignored. And again, now that I'm a federally declared candidate in a federal election across all 67 counties,
I'm just treasurer,
I guess you could say that they poked the bear too many times
Yeah.
at this point. And, like I said, I've been communicating this information to DOJ extensively at this point. And he is right. Today's the come to Jesus moment.
Right.
So, just to put things in a frame of.
And you forked this money yourself to do these air tags to these people?
Yeah.
This is out of your own money?
Yeah.
Wow.
You understand? I understand what's really going on here. I've tried to do the right thing right from the go. I mean, I've been involved in trying to fix these issues. I went to Rick Scott when he was governor, Ron DeSantis when he was running, Big Tech. Big Tech was interfering in the 2018 election. Hugely. I went to the extent of what I have documented and done on this is insane. You remember the Hunter Biden laptop?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You remember when people were getting deplatformed over that, and they deplatformed the sitting United States president? I went to the United States Federal Elections Commission with non-public private communications between me and the head of Facebook engineering that detailing how this was election interference by Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook to interfere with the election in 2018. I mean, like, the amount of documentation, the amount of investigation, the amount of stuff that we've done. I mean, I've debriefed the person who did the intake of the whistleblower from Dominion, from Serbia. I debriefed her, and we know exactly what's been going on. We know that Craig Latimer concealed. We know, I mean, I have video of them not actually doing logic and accuracy testing, where they were not running test ballots through central count tabulators. I have it on video. I've published it. We've seen the IP addresses on the machines. They're not certified by the EAC. How do you legally certify an election that isn't certified by the EAC? I have emails from Craig Latimer and ES&S saying, oh, because your systems have modems attached, they're not certified by the EAC. Do you want us to come and take the sticker off the machine? That's the solution to the problem. I mean, look, this is a huge, giant pile of steaming shit, and I know that, and you know that, okay? And this directly implicates Court Byrd, okay? This directly implicates the governor. This directly implicates Ashley Moody. I mean, in a face-to-face meeting with Court Byrd, right, in the 2022 election, Ashley Moody, the current Attorney General for the state of Florida, used illegal undue influence to silence a federal candidate, a congressional candidate, Laura Loomer, that her race was stolen by the same scheme here.
Right.
Okay?
Excuse me.
So this is a big deal. And so now we move into the OFAC, okay, and iGas. And we could go and play Weasel Word and everything all we want all day, because I know that's what Court Byrd likes to do. Because that's Court Byrd, all right?
It's okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank
You
you.
know your way out?
I'll figure it
It's all right.
out.
I can walk down. No problem. It's one of those where, at least at my office.
Is anybody gonna get a donut?
You know what? I'm gonna get a donut, so you have a
Okay,
donut.
'cause I'm not, but I'm tempted, so please take them,
Don't
take them out.
give me that, you're not gonna get a donut.
I'm not gonna get a
I'm looking at that.
Try to make it
mid-waist
all right.
right
They're
there,
really
man.
good.
That's not
These
shy
are-
donuts.
I
It's like
know.
this motherfucker
Have
right
you
here.
ever had Jupiter Donuts from over on the East Coast?
No, I'm from the Orlando area, so I know.
Well, I'm gonna have one. I'm gonna have a cake batter. Cake batter one's good.
Jesus.
I'm gonna pause this, so. I'm gonna pause the recording at this time.
10:15. Did you try them? Good.
They smell good. But,
I'm starting to get low blood sugar. Hurts my head listening to you.
keep them fresh. There you go.
So do you guys work together?
Yeah, we're out of the same office.
Okay.
Yeah. We each got different kind of cases, but usually when complaints go into make it to Tallahassee, they're kind of vetted to who it goes to. And his latest email came to us, of course, and that's when we called him, say, you willing to talk to us in person? So this way we'd be able to face to face and hear what he had to say. And
I mean, realistically, what needs to happen at this point is we need a grand jury investigation into this.
Well, if you get FDLE looking into it,
Yeah, I can't make those decisions. that's
No,
for sure.
but what I'm telling you is this, you can run this up the flagpole, but this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get a grand jury investigation.
Because what usually happens with us is if we open up an investigation, we do the investigation, once that investigation is done, from start to finish, which however long it takes, we present that to the state attorney's office. Now, if it's in one single jurisdiction, we'll take it there, but in this case, it'd probably be multi-circuit. It sounds like, so it would be to a statewide prosecutor, and then it would be up to
Brad
them to-
McVeigh.
It would be them that would make the determination if this is going to be, and just like any other attorney, the prosecutors, it's what they can get a
So-
conviction on, what they can prove.
Yeah. So
We can't force their hand
I
on
don't know.
taking a case or not
I,
taking a case.
I understand that. So the problem you're going to have with Brad McVeigh is that he was my point of contact on this from the very beginning, and at a certain point, Brad had their IT department limit his email size for a receipt to 0. And so that is a public records issue. That's a public corruption issue as well. Huge public corruption issue. And, you know, I mean, I'm a pretty good IT guy. We know what's going on. I mean, you know, I ended up getting into this stuff because some of the money laundering that I found, I went to a friend of mine who was FBI agent, retired FBI agent here in Tampa, and he ended up connecting me with this guy here, and he hoodwinked me into.
How did I hoodwink you?
Oh, you asked me to be on your board and for.
F3A.
Yeah, and I got into Florida and I started looking at stuff. So my history with the Florida Secretary of State was, like I said, big tech interference in the elections, and I had a relationship. I thought I had a pretty good relationship at the time with the General Counsel, Colleen O'Brien, who's now the SOE attorney here in Tampa. And when we had found the money laundering in other states, first in Washington State, then in Oklahoma, then I reached out to Colleen here in Florida. I said, "Hey, we have a huge issue here, and I'd like to get. I need the state campaign finance database." So they sent it to me, and literally within 5 minutes, I found massive money laundering into the state level elections by bad actors, same bad actors that have been doing this nationwide. And then, so we verified that it was going on here in Florida federally, then at the state level. I tried to dig into the county level, but VR Systems illegally blocked the data for campaign finance. They're the repository. Kind of a problem. Also election night reporting. So there's this huge problem always on election night, especially in the primaries where the systems crash. And then when the numbers come back up, they're different.
Right.
But it's a glitch.
It's a glitch.
It's a glitch.
Did those gentlemen ride with you? Or were they in their own vehicle, or?
One was, the other one was not. But they're together, so they'll be okay. So,
Alright, we went off the record for a little while. I mean, I stopped recording, so it's not running. Alright, the time now is 10:25 a.m. on the 3rd of April. We're back here with Mr. Gleason, back on the record. Where did we leave off? Did we get all the information we wanted on how he was able to get the evidence for the tracking stuff?
At least for now. Anything? I mean, we've got his information if we need anything more.
I've got terabytes
Yeah.
of collected government data
Just off
on this.
interacting with you, I imagine you have tons of data that could be useful. So
I mean, even better though, because if we do that, right?
If I can get a list of the addresses that you send these trackers to, this way we can show, that would be the,
Yeah.
those are the, the, what do you call them, the no-no
Yeah.
ballots?
Yeah.
We can show that those in itself is fraud because it didn't come from that location.
So here's I'll give you an even better. Like I said, and nobody, not anybody really knew about the red binders. So as we were investigating the mail fraud, right, and we know that mail fraud is a huge issue. So as we were investigating the mail fraud, as an IT guy, I'm like, hey, they have this neat thing called informed consent. And so there's ballot images that are in the mail stream. And in November, when we saw all this thing going on, I hit the United States Postal Service with a litigation hold letter demanding that they retain all of the election mail images. And I hit them here locally in Tampa, and then I hit them in DC as well. So there should, by all intents and purposes, now be ballot images that should have been retained. We have the red binder, which you guys can just go right up the street because they're going to have it. And so that right up the street, that red binder is going to have a list because they have to retain it for 3 years. And so we're in the span of time for 2024, aren't we? Yeah. So you guys can go there, and we're still within the realm of retained data. And if you don't, by the way, have the retained data for 2022, I do, because I got it when I was working with Lesepanano and Mara Land's race here in Hillsborough, and Laura Loomer's as well. And
Did you have any intention of talking about that one street issue?
oh, the Red Belly Road?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That's a really good one. So that was in, you guys neck of the woods. It was in Claremont.
Okay.
Epoch Times did a story on it, and that put a lot of light into some of the fraud that Ashley Moody used illegal undue influence to silence Laura Loomer. Okay, he was actually there for that one. So Ashley Moody and Tallahassee said you need to get control of your candidate to Laura Loomer's campaign manager and her business partner. Her business partner was a guy by the name of Scott Santamaria. He was Corey Mills's campaign manager. And they were, so there were job offers that had been tendered to people that worked for Gulf Coast Strategies. So it's Marianne Pastilli and Scott Santamaria, their firm. So there would be a record of a job offer from the Attorney General to people during that span of time, and then clearly there would have been a reneging of that job offer. And there'd be a record of that, I would imagine, which should, kind of, that's public corruption for sure. I mean, using undue influence to deter a candidate from contesting their election or raising the issues of election fraud.
Right.
Yeah, that's a crime. But I think the easy, like, honestly, I mean, if you guys want like a real easy win, if you guys were to go after the SOEs, okay, Supervisor of Elections. So we had a slate of, I believe, 13 or so America First candidates who all ran for Supervisor of Elections all across the state. And seriously, we all lost, even though every American was deeply concerned about election fraud. And, coincidentally, everybody, the system crashed because of a glitch, again, when we have all of this massive fraud with the vote by mail ballots, which, again, we documented. And we have the undeliverable as addressed red binder, okay? And so all you have to do is,
So you're saying I can walk into the post office right there and ask for that red binder? They're gonna give it to me without a warrant, without a
I don't know.
court order?
I don't know. Are they? This is what you do. So you probably have to get a court order or a warrant.
Right.
My suggestion would be to get a warrant from a judge
Okay.
because this is.
And I would need a federal warrant if it's the United States Postal Service.
So you have two vectors, right? You have two vectors, real clear vectors. So either you have, and in Pinellas County, we know that the SOE is, and all of the participants there are in on this, but you have the SOE, okay, who is going to be getting back undeliverable as addressed vote by mail ballots, right? Because if they're returned in the post office, so if the post office is doing their job, that means that the unreturned vote by mail ballots end up at the supervisor of elections office, undeliverable, right? And if that's the case, there's a record of it, right? There's a record of it at the post office. There's a record of it at the SOEs. And at the SOE's office, I think what you're going to end up finding is that a lot of the ones that should have been returned as undeliverable as addressed end up getting cast. Kind of like our folks, the Bedillions. That was the last name, the Bedillions. And so you're going to have, that. And I think the last time I checked, that's another couple felonies. Last time I checked.
When I mentioned the Red Belly Road, the only reason I really know about this was because I was trying to help Laura Loomer set up her election challenge afterwards as an attorney for her. And it didn't end up going forward for other reasons. But
They flipped the road.
so they renamed the road
12th Ave.
12th Avenue to Red Belly Road, but it had all the people's names and all their correct street numbers on it. So these ballots got issued from the supervisors of elections office with the wrong road. So they were all undeliverable.
Yeah.
However, it went to a postal carrier who recognized all the names and the numbers of the houses and he delivered them.
Interesting.
So all these people got ballots.
It said
that
Red Belly
said
Road.
Red Belly Road.
But it was like 12th Street or something like that.
Yeah,
12th Ave
it was
or
a
something.
totally, and so then when they went back in, okay, that the records in the VR systems voter database reflected the Red Belly Road when the mail-in ballots went out, but then changed later back to 12th Street and new ballots were sent out. So you've got ballots going out to people, this is from what my understanding of it, that are just now unaccounted for, right? They're just out there.
Gotcha.
So you're flooding the system, and I think this is what Mr. Gleason's getting at. The system, the entire environment is being flooded with ballots that nobody's keeping track of.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's getting a hold of those, filling them out, and casting them.
Right.
And the post office, this new executive order that came out from President Trump about the Postal Service having to, maintain track and barcodes and all that sort of stuff, that will not affect people getting mail-in ballots and taking them to a drop-off box.
Right.
Okay? There's no way to...
And that's what we saw,
Validate.
that's what we saw in Pinellas County. So you have, and so that's why I immediately went to the court. I saw what was going on. I went to the court. I filed for an emergency injunction and to stop the fraud, what was going on. And then, like I said, I went to the Chief Justice, who, denied the request of 200 and some odd qualified electors for, a grand jury investigation under 104.42 or 43. And that's a problem.
Red Belly Road, you call it?
Red Belly Road.
Okay, so that was a Claremont address.
Yes.
So you're saying that if these ballots get sent to the Red Belly Road, but the postal deliverer knows who these people are and know their new address, they're not allowed to take that now ballot sent to the wrong address and give it to that person, and then that person can cast their vote from wherever they're at? I mean, what difference does it make what the address is as long as the voter, it's the same voter that is doing the mail-in ballot?
Well, if it's a valid address, right, that's one of the things that has come up as an issue, right? So Red Belly Road doesn't show up as a valid address anywhere.
Okay.
The only reason that we found out about it was that they had been delivered by a postal carrier who had personal knowledge of the people on his route.
Right.
The problem was that the ballots were sent out under that list, right? So the ballots are gone, they're out into space, you know, and there's probably God knows how many other roads that got changed their names and ballots went out,
Right.
or apartment complexes, or you know, these sorts of things.
And it's very easy.
And then it changed, and then new ballots go.
So they got double sent a new ballot.
Right, but the first set of ballots were never meant to be able to be delivered because they had the wrong address on them.
Okay.
So let's go back to the tech end.
As long as they voted once.
Right, and we're not saying that there was fraud in there,
Right.
but from the voters' perspective,
Right.
But there certainly is the possibility because theoretically they got two sets of vote by mail ballots.
Right.
So, now, I mean, if this is all just a very innocent mistake, or if there was just a breach by bad foreign actors, okay, and we know VR Systems was breached by bad foreign actors at one point. There's a log. There's an operator log. And so any change made to a voter record, any login to the system, any actions taken within the system, there's an audit log of that. And, you know, all it would take is, you know, somebody to get the audit log. And, you know, their system is, it's all hosted on AWS, I believe now, for the most part, in Virginia. But, you know, they're a Florida company. They derive all of their income from government. And there's, I believe, some administrative rules about companies doing business in Florida. And if a company is doing business in Florida with software or whatever, they have to be able to comply with public records requests.
If they have a contract.
If they have a contract with the state, and if they can't comply with the public records request, then the contract is invalid. I believe that's how it works. So if ES&S or VR Systems is claiming that that we can't see the audit logs to make sure that the elections were legally administered to the letter of the law, not, you know, I mean, because it's strict compliance, because it's vote by mail, and vote by mail is a privilege, not a right. And so you have, I mean, this creates really big problems for people in Tallahassee, like huge problems. And I mean, so, I mean, I don't want to burn the world to the ground. I promised my daughters that when they got old enough to vote, that their vote was actually going to be counted. I mean, I have friends, you know, who died overseas protecting that crusty piece of paper, you know. I served myself, you know, I did 10 years. And my grandfather, he served in World War II. I jumped into Normandy on the 75th anniversary of D-Day wearing my grandfather's 101st Airborne patch. And I was at the cemetery there. And all those guys and girls, I don't know, but mostly guys there, they all, you know, they paid that ultimate price so that, you know, we have real elections.
Yeah.
And so, you know, yeah, I take things very seriously. And you know, that's why we've been doing what we've been doing. And I don't get paid to do this.
Right.
And for all intents and purposes, I'm probably, and I said this to Gord Byrd, by the way. Gord Byrd was saying, well, tell your state rep to give me more money. I said, Gord, I go, you could not afford to pay my hourly rate for the free help that I've given you guys. I go, I mean, and we built AI to catch all of this fraud, and we caught it. So, I mean, we caught the whole iGas thing. I mean, Chinese, I mean, and that's all government. That's all the government.
Were you here for the iGas discussion?
Well, that was the original complaint that we got, so I was just here to kind of hear your 2 cents on it. I was able to kind of skim the document a little bit. I didn't go through the whole thing. We have a bunch of other stuff going on, obviously.
Yeah.
But I wanted to at the very least give you your chance to tell us what's going on.
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. A de facto controlled Chinese company, not my ruling, the ruling of 6 different 4 different administrations, 6 different agencies, the potential incoming AG, yeah, he's the head of the EPA, and this is all tied to EPA stuff.
Okay.
You know, you've got de facto controlled Chinese company criminally laundering money from, you know, foreign money into Florida political campaigns, to include Ron DeSantis, who then, through various PACs in conjunction with Blaze and Goglia, transferred those money through various PACs into a federal campaign. That's a big no-no. That's a big no-no. You had Ashley Moody, who money was routed into her Friends for Ashley Moody PAC. Then apparently the news got a hold of the story in 2023. Everybody was kind of put on notice about it. And then some people continued to take the money anyways. So I have to ask you, what did they get? What did they have to do? What was promised in exchange for that money? I mean, you know, it's kind of a big deal.
Okay. And you say this money came from China? Is what
What I'm saying is that it came from a Chinese de facto controlled corporation. So there's a chain, there's a provenance. I laid it all out in the complaint, the OFAC complaint. And so it's kind of a problem. It's kind of a big problem. And right now there's a case related to money laundering into a federal campaign down in South Florida, Rivera. It's the Marco Rubio's old roommate. The DOJ is charging him with money laundering. Every transfer of over $10,000 is apparently money laundering, and you know, him taking that foreign money and laundering it into his campaign, he's on trial for right now. The only difference between what's going on in South Florida was that foreign money came from Venezuela. This money here came from China, or a Chinese controlled and owned company, which, by the way, also put in for...
Well, that's the caveat. It's a Chinese-owned company, but we don't know specifically the money came from China.
Well, if you read the complaint, it basically talks about the court cases that say the presumption of government control is presumed.
Okay.
Unless it's specifically proven otherwise. And it's been in litigation for an extensive amount of time.
Right.
And so, and the feds, they all found that it's de facto Chinese controlled. So you have a company deemed de facto Chinese communist controlled, putting money into Ron DeSantis' governor campaign.
On this complaint, we'll have to probably loop in somebody from the federal level.
I'm going to go off
Inside.
recording here.
So you've got Byron Donalds.
We'll wrap up soon because I know you're probably paying this man a long time.
No, I'm here of my own volition at his request. But
Wow.
And he has some issues with Craig Latimer with regards to VR systems and the breach of all of the identities over in Tampa. And then there's the vote by mail in Tampa with the Georgia connection, I believe it was. There's some guys in Georgia.
The supervisor of elections candidate for 2024 in Hillsborough County, his counterpart, William Christensen, has a lot of information on that. So if you wanted to interview him because there's supposedly an arrest by you guys, the Georgia boys, and some guys from Georgia that came down and were filling out Florida ballots in a hotel room down here that got arrested.
What's the name? I'm sorry. Say that name again. The one-
Christensen?
Yeah.
William Christensen? He found out about that investigation through.
Oh, Will.
Oh, okay.
One of our guys, William Christensen.
No. William
had-
Christensen is a
He ran for-
realtor. He ran for supervisor. of
Oh, we
elections.
have a Will Christensen. Will was short for William, so I thought it was.
He goes by Billy. This guy goes.
Oh, okay. Like my brother.
Yeah, but it was interesting in the Hillsborough race that Craig Latimer, the Democrat incumbent for supervisor of elections, actually got more votes than Donald Trump did.
That's a pattern that we saw all across Florida.
We were like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Same thing happened in Pinellas County in 2020. Same thing happened in Palm Beach County in 2024 and in 2020. I mean, when you look at the data, and I've looked at this data all over the country, there are certain patterns of fraud that you see over time. And like I said, not everybody is doing the wrong thing. And when you look at everything in its totality, it kind of puts together a nice mosaic,
Right.
and you understand exactly what's going on. So that's essentially why I'm saying the stuff that I'm saying,
Makes
and I know exactly what report, I know exactly what what we're looking at. So going back to this whole money laundering and iGas thing, it's not just Chinese communist money. You also have the stolen identities of elderly senior citizens being used to criminally launder money into political campaigns. They do it via Act Blue, they do it via Democracy Engine, they do it via WinRed. The House hearing,
That's what I was telling him about in the hallway.
the House hearing that they had held on Act Blue, that's because of me. Presidential memorandum on Act Blue, that's because of me. I mean, I am relentless on this because I know what's at stake, and we have to. This is not. I mean, I did a lot of polling during my election. A lot of polling in 2024. I talked to everybody because to me it was stupid to just go to the Republicans.
Right.
I'm like, I'm just going to go to everybody, and I went to everybody. I went to everybody's house, and I talked to them. And my 12-year-old daughter was sitting there, and she was doing my polling with me, and so the poll was, do you believe that there should be no cheating in elections? And mostly everybody said yes. And we had some polling that we had gotten initially from Rasmussen, and it was about 93% of people believed that there should be no cheating in elections. And so as my daughter's doing this, she's explaining this to them. And she says, 93% of all Americans believe that there should be no cheating in elections. And invariably, the people would always ask my daughter, who's the other 7%?
I like to know the same thing too.
Good question.
I mean, who doesn't believe that? I mean, I always thought there was, personally, and this is me speaking personally, I had issues. I still have issues with mail-in ballots. I think if you're not there to vote, then
Well, that's what we've been trying to push for. I mean, that was what we were promised.
it just opens the door for too much fraud and too much.
I mean, maybe from
accountability.
military, there's no chain of custody. That was the other thing that we brought up in all of these election challenges. There's no chain of custody.
Right.
If you don't have a chain of custody, everything else here is it's all theater.
Well,
And-
it's all a result of the Bush Gore thing. 2001, they changed the law from absentee ballot to no excuse vote by mail,
Right.
and ever since then things have been wonky.
So
It makes sense.
Yep.
So I have here a couple of FEC complaints. They have mirrors assigned to them. They were referenced in the OFAC. This one here is a newer one that was not entirely referenced in the OFAC because a mirror number had not been assigned to it. But this is part of what we see. So with with Act Blue and a lot of the Democrat-connected PACs and committees. And like I said, this is going on at both the federal and state and local level. Going back to the address verification, right? So probably about 20, almost 20% believe of all of the addresses of all of the donors using Act Blue as of the last run that I did against National Change of Address and USPS deliverability. There was about 300 million individual contributions made at that time. When we broke it down, it worked out to be about 3 million or so individual donors. Then I took that list of 3 million individual donors, we checked the addresses. And what we found were that about 20% were undeliverable as addressed addresses. It was about 550,000 of them. Then further broken down into the DPVN category, which means there's no record of it at all. There was about 150,000 of those who were donating thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times. So,
And those were the Smurfs. Right?
and those are what we refer to as Smurfs. So you've got these people, and then James O'Keefe, I got him all the data, and he was going around door knocking in Maryland, and we have video of this. The individuals who, this is your copy.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then this one here is on Ashley Moody. So, and that lays out the soft money, which is federal, but it also lays out smurfing, which are, again, happening. It's happening at the state level and state level races too. One of the biggest issues that we caught here in Florida with the smurfing was with a consultant firm, fundraising consulting firm. It is called Key Lime Strategies. You probably want to write this down. Key Lime.
Well, that's why I record too.
Yeah.
Because we haven't transcribed. Go ahead.
Yeah, Key Lime Strategies. And so we've done such a good job documenting. So we have every Smurf in the country tracked and mapped, every single one. So I know. So we have these Smurfs, we call them, where they're donating 20, 30,000 times, in an election cycle, about the third of the value of their home. But really, they're not the ones doing it. Somebody else is using their identity or their name. And so, you don't have 90-year-old grandmothers donating 800 times in a single day. And in order for that to happen, you have to have the bank fraud safeguards disabled in order to have that.
Right.
We know that a lot of this is routed through API calls and using prepaid credit cards, debit cards. I've in the past 30 days, I've filed probably about close to $7 billion worth of FEC complaints related to this against Act Blue, DNC, DSCC, John Ossoff in Georgia, Ron DeSantis, Ashley Moody, iGas, and there's more coming.
Would you say that Ron DeSantis and Ashley Moody are the only ones involved in this sort of stuff?
No.
This is a loaded question.
No. With the iGas, so if you looked at the OFAC, exhibits, they show this is a widespread influence operation routed to both Democrats and Republicans. So, this is, my work has always been nonpartisan, and I just follow the data where the data, politicians lie, lawyers lie, the data doesn't lie.
Right. Yep, no, I agree.
So now here in Florida, since we're talking about money laundering, there's this big case that's about to go to trial, related to Leo Gavoni. He was the guy who pilfered all of the money from the $100 million from the special needs trusts.
Allegedly.
pilfered it. So he also contributed largely to certain political officials, certain government officials, certain attorney general, and I don't know that Ashley Moody ever opened up an investigation into it. I know that if you, based on my work with election contributions, once a committee is put on notice that the money is illegal, they're supposed to segregate it. And if they don't segregate it, they commit another felony by spending it or using it. There's quite a few politicians in Florida, but particularly Pinellas County, who took money that was stolen from the special needs trusts and it was laundered into the campaign. So.
Makes sense.
Well,
No, it makes sense, especially if you're talking money laundering, obviously. Money that is obtained by illegal means and then used, obviously at that point it becomes money laundering, so I understand.
And it taints everything.
Okay.
It's all tainted.
Okay. Is there anything else regarding that you want to discuss right now? Because what my plan at this point is, now that we've kind of gotten your 2 cents about it from the complaint, we'll need to review this with somebody that knows more about it than I do, probably somebody from our legal, some of the election guys, and then we'll have to see. I can't make a statement about what's going to be done next, but just like anything else, it's kind of like I told you over the phone. I wanted to, at the very least, give you the opportunity to explain it to us, so then you can make that report, so we're not just going off of an email.
Yeah.
I try to do that to.
we're kind of the vetters.
Yeah. Yeah.
We vet the complaint.
So one of the things that I do want to impress upon y'all is that, Bruce Bartlett,
Who?
state attorney for Pinellas County. Like I said, the majority of the people in his office, they all had, they fall under the protected voter status. And so, and you guys are public corruption. Did he ever contact Ron DeSantis or the state? Because he should have known that he could not be investigating acts within his own office, right? I mean, that's kind of a no-no, isn't it? I mean, he would have a significant conflict, so he should have gone to either the AG or Ron.
I've seen cases where it gets deferred, but for one reason or another, one county gives it to another. For instance, the sheriff of Osceola County.
Yeah.
Well, that Marcos Lopez, I don't know, I'm sure you heard that one. Why it's in Lake County as opposed to Osceola. But if Bartlett is the targeted person being investigated, then yes, it wouldn't stay in that jurisdiction. It would be farmed out.
Yeah.
But we're not the ones that make that decision. It's either the Florida Attorney General, the governor. They decide if it goes to another county.
Well, your question was, did that every question even get asked? Was that?
And if it didn't get asked, well, that's clearly a problem. And if, with what we have here, this is a statewide issue with numerous counties. And it's going to if it does get routed to the statewide prosecutor, that would be Brad McVeigh. And Brad McVeigh himself has firsthand knowledge of a lot of this, and or has been evading trying to evade public with email games by changing the email size.
Okay.
So.
I do remember that. I remember reading that part. Changing the file size that can be accepted in the email, I believe is what you said.
This is one of the reasons you were pushing so hard for a grand jury?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Before we close, would you be able to, without, I don't know how much data it is, you said the addresses that were the bad addresses in Pinellas County.
Yeah.
Is this something that's going to convolute our system? Do we have to, I mean, or
No.
does it have to be on a disk, or can you send that via an email? I mean,
I'll put it into a shared online drive and I'll just drop it in an email. So, and then you can, it'll be a Google Drive. You should have no problem with that. I do that with DOJ and FEC.
okay,
So they have no problem with that. So
all right, anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. In regards to this statement, is there anything that either I or this interview, either I or Inspector Athade failed to ask you or clarify? You need to clarify anything in your statement today?
I don't think so.
And you voluntarily came in today, yes?
Yes.
And you haven't been promised anything in exchange for providing your statement today?
No.
And everything you told us has been the truth to the best of your knowledge or recollection?
Yes. Now I will say this though. Okay.
Sure.
I was offered. Somebody had made an offer to me that if I dropped out of the race, I think he put it, what would be your salary requirements if you dropped out of the race for supervisor of elections? And I actually told that person my oath never expired, and I was highly offended by that. So there have been threats, and there have been offers of cookies and
Donuts?
or donuts. So I just want to make that perfectly clear.
Okay.
So
All right, this interview has been concluded. The time now is 11:03 a.m. It's the 3rd of April, 2026. All right.
thank you guys.
No, thank you.